The snow was falling like God's own confetti outside my Victorian house on Elm Street, and I should have known right then that something was about to go spectacularly wrong. In my 38 years of living in coastal Maine, I'd learned that when everything looks too perfect, life's about to hand you a steaming pile of reality wrapped in a pretty bow. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name's Jake Landry, and I run Landry Electric. 3 generations of honest work keeping the lights on in this gossipy little town of Cedar Bay, population 4,200, where everybody knows everybody's business. And if they don't, they'll make something up that's probably more interesting than the truth anyway. Jake, can you help me with the turkey? My wife Erica called from the kitchen, her voice honey-sweet in that way that always made my teeth ache. After 15 years of marriage, I could tell the difference between her genuine sweetness and her performance art. This was definitely performance art. "Coming, sweetheart," I replied, setting down my beer and trudging toward the kitchen. The house was packed with family, both sides, all gathered for our annual Christmas dinner extravaganza. My sister Molly was arguing politics with Erica's mother Ruth in the living room, while my 12-year-old son Tyler sat quietly in the corner, reading a book like he always did when the adults got too loud. Smart kid. I wished I could join him. Erica stood at the counter, looking absolutely stunning in her red dress, blonde hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, despite spending 3 hours in the kitchen. At 35, she could still stop traffic, and she knew it. She'd always known it. "The gravy needs stirring," she said, without looking at me. "And can you check on the wine? Your sister's already finished 2 glasses." "Molly can handle her liquor better than most men I know," I said, giving the gravy a stir. "Remember her wedding? She outdrunk the groom's entire family?" Erica's laugh was sharp. "Yes. Well, not everyone finds public intoxication charming." There it was, that little edge in her voice that had been getting sharper over the past few months. I'd noticed other things, too. Late nights at the office, secretive phone calls, new lingerie that I never got to see her wear, the way she'd started working out obsessively and bought a whole new wardrobe. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me paint you the full picture of this perfect Christmas disaster waiting to happen. In the living room, Ruth Pemberton, Erica's mother and the unofficial queen bee of Cedar Bay's social scene, was holding court in her usual spot on our antique sofa. At 62, Ruth had perfected the art of looking down her nose at people while maintaining plausible deniability about her condescension. She ran the church gossip circle with the efficiency of a Fortune 500 CEO and the ruthlessness of a mob boss. "I still think you should have gone with the traditional centerpiece, dear," Ruth was saying to Erica, loud enough for everyone to hear. "These modern arrangements are so unconventional." My sister Molly, bless her heart, rolled her eyes so hard I was surprised they didn't fall out of her head. "It's beautiful, Erica. Very festive." Molly worked as a nurse at the local hospital and had zero patience for Ruth's passive-aggressive nonsense. Pete Morrison, my foreman and best friend since high school, was nursing a beer by the fireplace and trying to look invisible. Pete had the survival instincts of a combat veteran when it came to family drama, which made sense since he was a combat veteran. "How's business, Jake?" asked my Uncle Frank, who showed up every year, ate enough for 3 people, and contributed nothing to the conversation except complaints about his arthritis. "Can't complain," I said, which was my standard response. Truth was, Landry Electric was doing great. We'd just finished rewiring the new medical center, and I had contracts lined up through spring. Not bad for a guy who barely graduated high school and learned everything he knew about electricity from his father. But success in a small town is a double-edged sword. People either love you for it or hate you for it, and sometimes both at the same time. "Jake's being modest," Erica said, appearing at my elbow with a fresh glass of wine. "We're doing very well indeed." Something about the way she said it made my skin crawl, like she was already spending money we hadn't earned yet. Tyler looked up from his book, something about World War II aircraft, and caught my eye. He was a quiet kid, thoughtful, with his mother's blonde hair and what I'd always thought were my green eyes. He'd been even quieter lately, spending more time in his room, less interested in helping me with projects around the house. "Hey, buddy," I said, walking over to ruffle his hair. "Good book?" "It's about the Battle of Britain," he said softly. "Did you know some of the pilots were only 19 years old?" "Brave kids," I said. "Takes guts to fight for what's right." Tyler nodded seriously, then went back to his book. That kid was going to be something special someday, assuming his mother didn't turn him into another entitled brat like her side of the family. Speaking of entitled brats, that's when Marcus Doyle decided to make his grand entrance. Marcus was Erica's business partner in her interior design company, and if Central Casting had ordered up a villain for a Lifetime movie, they couldn't have done better. 40 years old, perfectly styled dark hair, expensive suit, driving a black BMW that cost more than most people in Cedar Bay made in a year. He had that smug confidence that comes from never having to worry about money or consequences. "Sorry I'm late," Marcus announced, kissing Erica on both cheeks like he was some kind of European aristocrat instead of a guy from Portland who'd gotten lucky in real estate. Traffic was murder. His wife Gina followed behind him, looking brittle and nervous as always. Gina was nice enough, but she had that haunted look of a woman who knew her husband was a snake, but couldn't quite prove it yet. "Marcus," Ruth practically purred. "How wonderful that you could make it. Erica was so worried you might not be able to get away." I watched this little performance with growing irritation. Marcus wasn't family, he wasn't even a close friend, but somehow he'd become a regular fixture at our holiday gatherings over the past year, and everyone acted like this was perfectly normal. "Well," Erica said, clapping her hands together, "I think it's time we all sat down for dinner." The dining room table looked like something out of a magazine. Crystal glasses, silver candlesticks, the good china that we only used twice a year. Erica had outdone herself, and I had to admit it was beautiful, even if the whole thing felt more like a stage set than a family dinner. I carved the turkey while everyone found their seats. Marcus, naturally, ended up sitting next to Erica, while I was relegated to the head of the table like some kind of ceremonial figurehead. Gina sat across from her husband, picking at her food and drinking wine like it was going out of style. The conversation was the usual holiday mix of family gossip, local news, and carefully avoided controversial topics. Ruth dominated most of it, of course, filling everyone in on who was getting divorced, who was having money troubles, and who had been seen, where, with whom. "Speaking of interesting news," Ruth said, giving Erica a meaningful look, "I heard the Hendersons are finally selling their house. Apparently Janet found some very interesting text messages on Robert's phone." Molly made a disgusted noise. Poor Janet. Though honestly, she's better off without him. That man's been cheating since their wedding day. "How do you know?" asked Uncle Frank. "Because I was working the ER the night she came in with a black eye 3 years ago, claiming she'd walked into a door. Same night Robert was seen leaving Murphy's Tavern with that redhead from the bank." An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Erica was staring at her plate, while Marcus suddenly became very interested in his wine glass. "Well," I said, trying to lighten the mood, "at least some secrets have a way of coming out eventually." Erica's head snapped up, her eyes flashing. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said innocently. "Just that truth has a way of surfacing, that's all. Like cream rising to the top." "Or scum," Molly added helpfully. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Tyler was looking back and forth between his mother and me like he was watching a tennis match. Pete was studying his mashed potatoes like they contained the secrets of the universe. That's when Erica stood up. "Actually," she said, her voice suddenly bright and artificial. "I have a little Christmas surprise for Jake." She reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope, setting it down in front of me with a smile that would have made a shark proud. "Merry Christmas, darling," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I got you something special this year." My hands were steady as I opened the envelope, but my heart was hammering against my ribs. Inside were several official-looking documents, and right on top was a DNA test result. The room went silent as I read the first line. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. "Tyler isn't your son," Erica announced to the stunned room. "I'm filing for divorce tomorrow morning, and according to Maine law, I'm entitled to half of everything you own." Ruth was beaming like this was the best Christmas present she'd ever received. Marcus was trying very hard to look surprised and failing miserably. Gina had gone white as the snow outside. Tyler was staring at his mother with an expression I'd never seen before, pure, heartbroken betrayal. But me? I just smiled. "Funny you should mention Christmas surprises," I said, pulling out my phone. "I have one for you too, sweetheart. Check your email." Erica's confident smile faltered as she pulled out her phone with shaking hands. The room was so quiet, I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway and the wind rattling the windows. "What is this?" she whispered, staring at her screen. "Put it on speaker," I suggested helpfully. "Share the Christmas joy with everyone." She opened the email with fumbling fingers, and my lawyer's voice filled the dining room through her phone's speaker. "Mrs. Landry, this is David Chen from Chen, Martinez and Associates. I'm calling to confirm that your husband's counter-divorce filing has been submitted to the court as of December 20th, 3 days ago. As you'll see in the attached documents, Mr. Landry has been granted temporary sole custody of Tyler Landry based on the evidence of paternity fraud and the post-nuptial agreement you signed in 2019. The court has also issued an order changing Tyler's birth certificate to reflect his biological father, Marcus Doyle, who is now legally responsible for all child support obligations. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience to discuss the proceedings." The silence that followed was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop in the next county. Ruth's mouth was hanging open like a fish gasping for air. Marcus had gone from pale to green to a sort of gray color I'd never seen on a living person before. Gina was gripping her wine glass so hard I thought it might shatter. But Erica? Erica looked like she'd been hit by a truck. You filed first?" she stammered. 3 days ago," I confirmed cheerfully. "Turns out I'm not as stupid as you thought. Funny thing about that postnup you signed, sweetheart. Remember Clause 15? The one about infidelity and paternity fraud? The one your lawyer told you would never be enforceable? Well, turns out when you have video evidence of the wife confessing to deliberately getting pregnant to trap her husband and steal his assets, judges tend to take a dim view of that sort of thing." I pressed play on a video file on my phone, and Erica's voice filled the room. "God, Marcus, I can't wait to take Jake for everything he's worth. That idiot actually thinks Tyler is his kid. Once I spring this on him at Christmas, he'll be so shocked he won't know what hit him. Half of everything, baby. Half of everything. And then we can finally be together." Marcus's voice came through clearly. "What if he fights it?" "With what?" "I've been planning this for months. He has no idea what's coming." I stopped the recording. "Actually, honey, I had a pretty good idea. You're not as sneaky as you think you are." The room erupted. "You recorded us?" Erica shrieked. "Technically, Marcus recorded you," I said. "I just happened to find his phone when he left it in our bedroom 3 months ago. Amazing what people leave in their voice memos, isn't it?" Marcus tried to bolt for the door, but Pete was already there, blocking his path with the casual efficiency of someone who'd spent 2 tours in Afghanistan. "Sit down, Romeo," Pete said quietly. "We're not done here." "This is insane," Marcus babbled. "You can't just—" "Can't what?" I interrupted. "Can't protect myself from my cheating wife and her scumbag boyfriend? Can't use legally obtained evidence to prevent myself from being defrauded? Can't make sure my son, and yes, he's still my son in every way that matters, doesn't have to watch his mother destroy his father? I stood up, and suddenly I felt 10 feet tall. For months, I'd been carrying around the weight of knowing my marriage was a lie, that my wife was betraying me, that everything I'd built was about to be stolen from me. But now? Now the truth was out, and it felt like I could breathe again. See, here's what really happened, I continued, addressing the room like I was giving a presentation. About 4 months ago, Pete noticed Marcus's car parked behind the medical center at weird hours. Same time Erica was supposedly working late on the interior design project there. Funny thing about small towns, people notice things. Pete nodded. Saw them together 3 different times. Didn't want to be the one to tell you, but I started keeping track. So, I hired a private investigator, I went on. Nothing fancy, nothing illegal, just someone to document where my wife was when she said she was working late. Turns out she was working all right, just not on interior design. Ruth finally found her voice. This is preposterous. Erica would never what, Ruth? Never lie, never cheat, never plan to destroy her husband's life for money? I laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. Your daughter has been planning this Christmas ambush for months. The DNA test, the divorce papers, the whole dramatic revelation in front of both families. She wanted to humiliate me, break me down, make sure I was too shocked and devastated to fight back. I turned to look at Erica, who was now crying. Whether from rage or fear, I couldn't tell. But you made one crucial mistake, sweetheart. You underestimated me. You thought I was just some dumb electrician who'd roll over and let you take everything. You forgot that I've been running a business for 15 years, dealing with contracts and lawyers and people trying to screw me over. You forgot that I'm not actually stupid. Marcus finally managed to speak. The birth certificate thing, that's not legal. You can't just... Actually, I can, I said. Turns out when you have DNA evidence proving paternity, along with recorded confessions of fraud and a compliant biological father... Oh, didn't I mention that part? You're going to love this, Marcus. I pulled out another document. This is your signed acknowledgement of paternity, filed with the state of Maine. See, my lawyer explained to your lawyer that you had 2 choices. Acknowledge paternity voluntarily and work out a reasonable child support arrangement, or we'd drag you through a very public paternity suit that would include all the evidence of your affair, the recordings, and probably result in your wife taking you for everything in her divorce. Gina stood up so fast her chair fell over. You signed what? She hissed at her husband. Gina, I can explain... Explain? Explain how you've been cheating on me with this... She looked at Erica with pure hatred. This pathetic excuse for a woman? Explain how you got her pregnant and then let another man raise your child for 12 years. Now, Gina, Ruth tried to intervene, let's all just calm down and... Shut up, Ruth, Gina snapped. Your daughter is a home-wrecking whore, and your grandson isn't even your grandson. Tyler, who had been sitting in stunned silence through all of this, finally spoke up. Dad? His voice was small and scared. What does this mean? I knelt down beside his chair, my heart breaking for this kid who was caught in the middle of something he never asked for. It means your mom made some very bad choices, buddy. And it means some things are going to change, but it doesn't change the fact that I love you, and as far as I'm concerned, you're my son. Biology doesn't make a father. Being there does. Tyler threw his arms around my neck and started crying. I don't want to live with her, he whispered. She's mean to me when you're not around. That was news to me, and judging by the look on Molly's face, she was filing that information away for future use. You don't have to worry about that, I said, holding him tight. The court gave me custody. You're staying with me. Erica finally exploded. You can't do this. He's my son. No, I said quietly, standing up with Tyler still clinging to me. He's Marcus's son, biologically speaking, and he's my son in every way that actually matters. But he's not your son anymore. You gave up that right when you decided to use him as a weapon against me. The court will never— The court already did, I interrupted. Turns out judges don't like parents who traumatize their children with public paternity revelations on Christmas, especially when there's evidence that the parent has been emotionally abusive. I'd been documenting everything for months. Tyler's increasingly withdrawn behavior, his reluctance to be alone with his mother, the way he flinched when she raised her voice. I'd thought it was just typical preteen moodiness, but now I was seeing it in a different light. Marcus was trying to edge toward the door again, but Molly had joined Pete in blocking his escape route. "Where do you think you're going, stud?" Molly asked sweetly. "The party's just getting started." "I need to get home," Marcus mumbled. "This is all a misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," Gina said coldly, "was me thinking I married a man instead of a lying, cheating coward." She pulled off her wedding ring and threw it at him. "I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. And unlike Jake, I won't be giving you any warning." She grabbed her coat and purse. "Jake, I'm sorry you and Tyler got caught up in this mess. You deserve better." She looked at Erica with disgust. "And you deserve exactly what you're getting." With that, she stormed out, leaving Marcus standing there like an idiot. The rest of the family began to file out in uncomfortable silence. Uncle Frank muttered something about never seeing anything like it in all his years. Pete clapped me on the shoulder and promised to come by later to help me clean up the mess. Ruth was the last to leave, her face purple with rage and humiliation. "This isn't over," she hissed at me. "I'll make sure everyone in this town knows what kind of man you really are." I smiled at her. "Please do, Ruth. Make sure you tell them I'm the kind of man who doesn't let people steal from him, the kind of man who protects his son, the kind of man who fights back when cornered. I think they'll find that very interesting." She left without another word, dragging a sobbing Erica behind her. And then it was just me, Tyler, and the wreckage of our Christmas dinner. "Dad," Tyler said quietly, "are we going to be okay?" I looked around at the destroyed dining room, at the half-eaten Christmas dinner, at the papers scattered across the table that represented the end of my marriage and the beginning of something new. "Yeah, buddy," I said, meaning it for the first time in months. "We're going to be just fine." The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Word travels fast in a town of 4,200 people, especially when that word involves DNA tests, Christmas dinner explosions, and the town's golden couple getting exposed as lying cheaters. Tyler was still asleep in his room. He'd had nightmares and ended up crawling into bed with me around 2 a.m., something he hadn't done since he was little. Poor kid was processing a lot. My phone rang again. Molly. "Jesus Christ, Jake, my phone hasn't stopped ringing since 6 this morning," she said without preamble. "Half the town wants to know if it's true, and the other half wants to tell me what they always suspected about Erica and Marcus." "What are people saying?" "Well, let's see. Martha Henderson called to tell me she always thought Erica was too good to be true. Bob Kowalski from the hardware store wants to know if you need anything and says Marcus can find somewhere else to buy his fancy imported tools. And get this, 3 different women called to tell me they saw Erica and Marcus together at various hotels over the past 6 months but didn't want to say anything because they weren't sure." I rubbed my forehead. "Of course they did." "Oh, and the best part? Ruth called Pastor Williams at 6:30 this morning crying about how you ambushed poor Erica and demanding the church rally around her daughter. Pastor Williams told her he'd pray for everyone involved and suggested she might want to examine her own role in raising a daughter who thought fraud and adultery were acceptable. I had to laugh at that. Pastor Williams was a good man, but he didn't suffer fools gladly, and he'd never been a fan of Ruth's gossip circle. "How's Tyler doing?" Molly asked, her voice softening. "Confused, hurt, angry at his mother, which breaks my heart because no kid should have to feel that way. But he'll be okay. Kids are resilient. And how are you doing? I thought about that for a moment. Honestly, I feel like I can breathe again. I've been carrying around this weight for months, knowing something was wrong but not being able to prove it. Now it's all out in the open, and I don't have to pretend anymore. Good. You deserve better than what she put you through. After I hung up with Molly, I made breakfast for Tyler and me. He was quiet, picking at his scrambled eggs and toast. Dad, are people going to be weird to me at school? He asked finally. Some might be, I said honestly. People love to gossip, especially about dramatic stuff like this. But the people who matter, your real friends, your teachers, they'll treat you the same as always. What about Mom? When will I see her? That was the hard question. I don't know, buddy. Right now she's pretty angry, and she needs to figure some things out. But Tyler, I need you to understand something important. None of this is your fault. Adults make bad choices sometimes, and kids get caught in the middle. But you didn't do anything wrong. He nodded, but I could see he was still processing everything. Around 10 o'clock, Pete showed up with coffee and donuts from Murphy's Bakery. Thought you might need some fuel, he said, settling into a kitchen chair. Also thought you should know. Marcus's car is parked outside the Riverside Motel. Been there since last night, according to Jenny Murphy. Apparently Gina changed the locks and put his stuff on the lawn. That was fast. Hell hath no fury and all that. Pete bit into a chocolate donut. Also, word is that Marcus is trying to do damage control, telling people this is all some kind of misunderstanding, that you doctored the evidence somehow. I snorted. Good luck with that. Everything I have is court certified and lawyer verified. Let him try to claim it's fake. Oh, it gets better. Ruth is making the rounds, trying to drum up support for Erica. She's telling people that you trapped Erica somehow, that the whole thing is a setup to steal Tyler away from his loving mother. And people are buying that? Pete grinned. Not so much. Turns out a lot of people have been suspicious about Erica and Marcus for months. Sarah Jenkins from the post office said she's been forwarding packages from Victoria's Secret to Erica's office address, and they definitely weren't work-related. And Tom Bradley from the gas station said Marcus has been buying condoms and flowers every Friday for the past 3 months, never on the same day he bought flowers for his wife. Small towns. You couldn't fart without someone documenting the wind direction. My phone rang. Unknown number. Jake Landry. Mr. Landry, this is Jennifer Walsh from the Cedar Bay Gazette. I was wondering if you'd like to comment on the situation with your wife and Marcus Doyle. The Cedar Bay Gazette was our local weekly paper, circulation about 2000. Jennifer was a decent reporter who'd moved here from Portland a few years back. No comment, I said automatically. I understand this is a difficult time, but people are talking, and I'd like to give you a chance to tell your side of the story. I thought about that. Ruth was already spinning her version of events, trying to make Erica look like the victim. Maybe it was time to get ahead of the narrative. Off the record? If that's what you prefer. My wife committed paternity fraud and adultery, then tried to ambush me with a public humiliation designed to maximize her financial gain in a divorce. I protected myself and my son using legal means and evidence that will hold up in any court. That's not revenge, that's self-defense. And the timing? Revealing everything at Christmas dinner? She chose the timing, not me. I just made sure I was ready for it. One more question. What's next for you and Tyler? We're going to rebuild our lives without people who think lying and cheating are acceptable. Tyler's a great kid, and he deserves better than what he's been dealing with. After I hung up, Pete was looking at me with approval. Smart move, getting your version out there first. Ruth's been busy, but people are starting to ask questions about why she's so eager to defend adultery and fraud. Around noon, my phone rang again. This time, it was David Chen, my lawyer. Jake, we need to talk. Erica's hired Patricia Morrison. Patricia Morrison was the most expensive divorce lawyer in the state, known for her scorched earth tactics and her ability to find loopholes in ironclad agreements. Let me guess. She's going to challenge the postnup. She's going to try. Morrison is claiming duress, fraud, inadequate representation, everything in the book. She's also filing for emergency custody of Tyler, claiming you've poisoned him against his mother. Can she win? Not based on the evidence we have, but she can make things expensive and unpleasant. Morrison doesn't win cases so much as she exhausts the other side into settling. What do you recommend? We stick to the plan. We have everything documented, everything legal, everything airtight. Let her waste Erica's money on legal fees while we present the facts to the judge. After I hung up, I realized Tyler had been listening from the doorway. Dad, are they going to make me go live with Mom? Not if I have anything to say about it, buddy, and I have a lot to say about it. That afternoon, I decided to take Tyler into town to run some errands and show that we weren't hiding from anyone. Our first stop was the hardware store, where Bob Kowalski greeted me like a returning war hero. Jake, good to see you, son. How are you holding up? We're doing fine, Bob. Thanks for asking. Listen, I want you to know that Marcus Doyle character isn't welcome in my store anymore. Anyone who'd cheat on his wife and abandon his kid for 12 years isn't the kind of customer I want. Tyler looked up at me with surprise. I squeezed his shoulder. That's very kind of you, Bob, but you don't need to take sides in this mess. Hell, I don't. This is about right and wrong, Jake. And what that woman did to you and Tyler was wrong, plain and simple. We got similar reactions everywhere we went. The grocery store, the bank, the post office. People were going out of their way to show support. It was touching, but also a little overwhelming. On our way home, we passed the Riverside Motel, and I couldn't resist slowing down to look at Marcus's BMW parked outside room 12. The car that used to represent success and sophistication now just looked pathetic. Is that where he's living now? Tyler asked. Looks like it. Good. I never liked him anyway. He always talked to me like I was stupid. That evening, Molly came over with takeout Chinese food and a bottle of wine. Figured you might not feel like cooking, she said, unpacking containers of lo mein and sweet and sour chicken. Any more gossip from the rumor mill? I asked. Oh, you're going to love this. Apparently Marcus went to the bank today to try to get a loan, and they turned him down. Word is that Gina cleaned out their joint accounts before filing for divorce, and his business accounts are frozen pending the divorce proceedings. Ouch. It gets better. Ruth tried to organize a prayer circle for Erica at church tonight, and exactly 3 people showed up. Mrs. Henderson, Mrs. Kowalski, and Ruth herself. Pastor Williams suggested they might want to pray for honesty and accountability instead of just asking for sympathy. Tyler giggled at that, the first time I'd heard him laugh since Christmas. And the best part, Molly continued, is that Erica apparently went to Morrison's office today driving a brand new Mercedes. People are wondering where she got the money for that, considering her business was supposedly struggling. I raised an eyebrow. Interesting question. Morrison's not cheap either. Her retainer alone is probably more than most people make in 6 months. Makes you wonder who's funding this legal battle. After Tyler went to bed, Molly and I sat on the porch with our wine, watching the snow fall. You know, she said quietly, I never liked Erica. I tried to, for your sake, but there was always something calculating about her. Like she was always working an angle. Why didn't you ever say anything? Would you have listened? You were head over heels for her, especially in the beginning, and I hoped I was wrong. I sipped my wine and thought about that. I don't think I was ever really head over heels. I think I was flattered that someone like her would want someone like me. Small-town electrician bags the beauty queen. It felt like winning the lottery. You're worth 10 of her, Jake. I hope you know that now. I'm starting to. The next morning brought more phone calls, more gossip, and more evidence that Erica and Marcus's reputations were in free fall. But it also brought something else, a knock on my door at 7 a.m. I opened it to find Erica standing on my porch, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her perfect hair was a mess, her makeup was smudged, and she was wearing the same clothes from Christmas dinner. "We need to talk," she said. I looked at Erica standing on my porch, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Tyler's getting ready for school," I said. "Whatever you have to say, make it quick." "Jake, please. This has gotten out of hand. Can't we work something out? For Tyler's sake?" "For Tyler's sake?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You mean the kid you traumatized with a public paternity reveal on Christmas? The kid you've been emotionally manipulating for months? That Tyler? I never meant for it to happen like that. I was angry, and I wanted you to understand how I felt." "How you felt about what? About cheating on me? About lying to me for 12 years? About planning to steal half my assets based on fraud? Which part of that am I supposed to understand, Erica?" She started crying then, the kind of pretty tears that had always worked on me before. But now they just looked like another manipulation. "I made mistakes, okay? But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work it out. Tyler needs both his parents. Tyler needs honest parents. He needs people who don't lie to him or use him as a weapon. Right now, that's just me. You can't keep me from seeing my son." "Actually, I can. It's called a court order. And he's not your son, remember? You made that very clear on Christmas. He's Marcus's son, biologically speaking, and my son in every way that matters." Tyler appeared behind me, dressed for school and carrying his backpack. "Hi, Mom," he said quietly. Erica's face lit up. "Tyler, sweetheart, I've missed you so much. Why don't you come stay with Grandma Ruth and me for a few days?" Tyler looked up at me, then back at his mother. "I want to stay with Dad." "But honey, I'm your mother. Don't you want to spend time with me?" "Not really," Tyler said with the brutal honesty that only kids can manage. "You made Dad cry. I heard him in his room after you left." Erica's face crumpled. "Tyler, I never meant—" "You said he wasn't my real dad, but he's the one who taught me to ride a bike and helped me with my homework and came to all my baseball games. Marcus never did any of that stuff." Out of the mouths of babes. "I need to get Tyler to school," I said, gently moving him toward my truck. "If you want to discuss visitation, have your lawyer call mine." As we drove away, I could see Erica in the rearview mirror, standing in my driveway, looking lost and broken. For just a moment, I remembered the girl I'd fallen in love with 15 years ago, before the lies and the manipulation and the betrayal. Then I remembered the recording of her laughing about taking me for everything I was worth, and the moment passed. After dropping Tyler at school, I headed to the job site where my crew was installing new electrical systems in a strip mall. Work was a welcome distraction from the drama, and my guys were being supportive without making a big deal about it. "Boss," called Jimmy, one of my younger electricians. "There's some guy here looking for you. Says it's important." I climbed down from the ladder I'd been working on and found Marcus waiting by my truck. He looked terrible, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. The golden boy image was definitely tarnished. "We need to talk," he said without preamble. "No, we don't." "Jake, please. This whole thing has gotten out of control. My wife left me. My business is falling apart. I'm living in a motel room. Can't we work something out?" I set down my tools and looked at him. "Work something out? Like what?" "I'll pay child support, obviously. But maybe we could keep this quiet, handle it privately. No need for the whole town to be involved." "Keep it quiet?" I laughed. "Marcus, you and my wife conducted your affair in a town of 200 people. You left your phone in my bedroom with recordings of you planning to defraud me. You signed paternity papers acknowledging Tyler as your son. What exactly did you think was going to happen?" "I thought we could be adults about this." "Adults don't cheat on their spouses. Adults don't abandon their children for 12 years. Adults don't help married women commit paternity fraud. You want to be an adult now? Pay your child support, stay away from my family, and deal with the consequences of your choices. Marcus's face hardened. You think you're so smart, don't you? Setting up your little trap, recording us, playing the victim, but I know what this is really about. Enlighten me. You couldn't handle that Erica wanted a real man, someone successful, someone who could give her the life she deserved. So you decided to destroy both of us rather than just let her go. That did it. I stepped closer to Marcus, close enough to smell the desperation and cheap aftershave. A real man, I said quietly. A real man doesn't sneak around behind his wife's back. A real man doesn't abandon his child. A real man doesn't help a married woman plan to defraud her husband. You're not a real man, Marcus. You're a coward and a cheat, and now everyone knows it. You son of a... Marcus swung at me, but 15 years of physical work had kept me in better shape than his gym membership. I caught his wrist and twisted, not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to make my point. Don't, I said calmly. You've already lost everything that matters. Don't make it worse by adding assault charges. I let go of his wrist and stepped back. Marcus was breathing hard, his face red with humiliation and rage. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, it is. You just don't know it yet. Marcus stormed off, and I went back to work. But I made a mental note to install some security cameras at the house. Desperate people do stupid things. That afternoon, I got a call from Tyler's school. He'd been in a fight. I found him sitting in the principal's office, holding an ice pack to his lip. The other kid was there too, Danny Morrison, whose mother just happened to be Erica's new lawyer. What happened? I asked. Danny said some things about Mom, Tyler said quietly. I told him to stop, but he kept going. Principal Martinez, a fair woman who'd been dealing with middle school drama for 20 years, filled me in. According to witnesses, Danny made some inappropriate comments about Mrs. Landry and Mr. Doyle. Tyler asked him to stop multiple times before the physical altercation began. I looked at Danny, who was trying to look innocent and failing. What kind of comments? He said Mom was a... Tyler glanced at the principal. A bad word, and he said she was doing things with Marcus. I was just repeating what my mom said, Danny protested. Interesting. So Patricia Morrison was discussing her client's case with her 12-year-old son, who was then sharing that information at school. That seemed like something David Chen would want to know about. Tyler, I understand why you were upset, I said, but fighting isn't the answer. Words can hurt, but you can't let other people's ignorance make you do things you'll regret. Tyler nodded, looking ashamed. However, I continued, looking directly at Danny, spreading gossip and making crude comments about someone's mother isn't acceptable either, especially when that gossip comes from adult conversations you shouldn't have been listening to. Danny's face went red. Principal Martinez assigned both boys detention and sent us home with a warning about future incidents. As we walked to the truck, Tyler was quiet. Dad, are people always going to say mean things about Mom? For a while, maybe. People love to gossip, especially about dramatic situations, but eventually, something else will happen, and they'll move on to talking about that instead. Do you think Mom will ever apologize? That was a harder question. I don't know, buddy. Sometimes people get so caught up in being right that they forget how to say they're sorry, but that's her choice to make. That evening, I was installing the security cameras when Pete showed up with beer and news. You're going to love this, he said, handing me a cold one. Apparently, Marcus tried to get his job back at the real estate office today. They told him his conduct had reflected poorly on the company, and they were terminating his partnership agreement. Ouch. It gets better. Word is that Erica's been staying at Ruth's house, and the neighbors are complaining about the screaming matches they've been having. Apparently, Ruth is not happy about the legal bills or the damage to her precious reputation. I finished mounting a camera above the front door and climbed down from the ladder. Any word on how she's paying for Morrison? That's the interesting part. Jenny Murphy heard from her cousin who works at the bank that someone made a large cash deposit to Erica's account last week. Like, suspiciously large. How large? $50,000? I nearly dropped my beer. Where the hell did she get $50,000? Good question. Your business accounts are being monitored because of the divorce, right? So it's not like she could have stolen it from you without leaving a trail. We both thought about that for a moment. Pete, remember when Erica was working on that medical center project? The one where she supposedly met Marcus? Yeah, why? What if it wasn't just an affair? What if they were running some kind of scam together? Inflating invoices, kickbacks from suppliers, something like that? Pete's eyes lit up. That would explain how she could afford Morrison's retainer, and it would give you some serious leverage in the divorce proceedings. I pulled out my phone and called David Chen. David, it's Jake. I need you to look into something. Erica just deposited $50,000 in cash and I want to know where it came from. That's interesting. I'll have my investigator look into it. If she's been hiding assets or engaging in fraud, it could change everything. How so? If we can prove she obtained money illegally, we can have her arrested. And if she's been lying about her finances, we can challenge every claim she's made in the divorce proceedings. After I hung up, Pete was grinning. Think you just found the smoking gun? Maybe. But even if I didn't, the investigation alone will keep Erica and Morrison busy answering questions instead of attacking me. The next morning brought another surprise. I was having coffee and reading the Cedar Bay Gazette when I saw the headline, "Local Businessman Faces Paternity Suit." Jennifer Walsh had done her homework. The article was factual, balanced, and devastating. She'd interviewed several people who'd witnessed Marcus and Erica together, quoted legal experts about paternity fraud, and included a timeline of events that made it clear who the real victim was. The best part was the quote from Pastor Williams. This situation reminds us that actions have consequences and that the truth always comes to light eventually. We should pray for all involved, especially the child who is caught in the middle of adult failures. My phone rang. It was Molly. Have you seen the paper? Just finished reading it. Walsh did a good job. Ruth is having a meltdown. She called the paper trying to get them to print a retraction, claiming the whole story is lies and slander. And? Walsh told her that everything in the article is documented and verifiable, and if Ruth wants to dispute any facts, she's welcome to provide evidence to the contrary. I had to admire Jennifer Walsh's professionalism. Oh, and Jake? You might want to drive by the Riverside Motel today. Marcus's car isn't there anymore. Where'd he go? Nobody knows. But the desk clerk said he checked out around midnight, paid his bill in cash, and left without saying where he was going. That was interesting, and potentially problematic. Desperate people who disappear sometimes come back at the worst possible moments. I spent the day working and trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy for Tyler's sake. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the storm was far from over. That feeling proved correct around dinner time, when Erica showed up at my door again. This time, she wasn't alone. Erica stood on my porch with Patricia Morrison beside her, and both women looked like they meant business. Morrison was exactly what I'd expected: expensive suit, briefcase, and the kind of cold smile that probably cost extra. "Mr. Landry," Morrison said without preamble. "I represent Mrs. Landry in her divorce proceedings. We need to discuss custody arrangements for Tyler." "I thought we were doing that through lawyers," I said. "Circumstances have changed. We have reason to believe you've been engaging in parental alienation and harassment of my client." I laughed. "Harassment? Your client showed up at my house uninvited yesterday morning. I haven't contacted her at all. You've been spreading malicious gossip throughout the community, damaging her reputation and making it impossible for her to maintain a relationship with her son." "I've been telling the truth. If the truth damages her reputation, that's her problem, not mine." Morrison stepped forward, trying to use her height advantage to intimidate me. "Mr. Landry, my client is prepared to be reasonable. She's willing to settle for joint custody and a modest financial settlement if you're willing to stop this vindictive campaign against her. Vindictive campaign? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Your client committed paternity fraud and adultery, then tried to ambush me with a public humiliation designed to maximize her financial gain. I defended myself with legally obtained evidence. That's not vindictive. That's smart. The post-nuptial agreement you're relying on was signed under duress. The post-nuptial agreement was her idea, I interrupted. She suggested it after we had some financial problems 5 years ago, said it would protect both of us if anything ever happened to our marriage. Turns out she was right. It did protect me. Erica finally spoke up. Jake, please. I know I made mistakes, but Tyler needs his mother. Don't punish him because you're angry at me. I'm not punishing anyone. Tyler is free to see you anytime he wants. The problem is, he doesn't want to, and I'm not going to force him. Because you've turned him against me. No, Erica, you did that all by yourself when you decided to blow up his world on Christmas morning. Tyler appeared behind me, drawn by the raised voices. Mom? What are you doing here? Erica's face softened. Hi, sweetheart. I came to see if you wanted to spend the weekend with me and Grandma Ruth. Tyler looked uncomfortable. I have plans with Dad. We're going to work on my science project. You can do that anytime, honey. This is important. No, thank you, Tyler said politely but firmly. I want to stay here. Morrison pulled out a document. Mr. Landry, this is a motion for emergency custody modification. We're filing it tomorrow morning, claiming that you're interfering with the mother-child relationship and creating an unhealthy environment for Tyler. I took the document and scanned it quickly. It was full of legal jargon and accusations, but the gist was clear. They were claiming I was psychologically abusing Tyler by poisoning him against his mother. This is bullshit, I said flatly. Language, Mr. Landry. There's a child present. Yeah, there is. A child who's been through enough trauma thanks to his mother's choices, and now you want to drag him through a custody battle based on lies? They're not lies, Erica said desperately. Tyler, tell them. Tell them how your father talks about me when we're alone. Tyler looked confused and hurt. Dad doesn't talk about you. He just says you made bad choices and that it's not my fault. See? Morrison said triumphantly. He's been coaching the child. I've been telling him the truth in age-appropriate language, I corrected. Something his mother should have tried before she decided to detonate his life on Christmas. That's when things got interesting. A car pulled up behind Morrison's Mercedes, and David Chen got out, followed by a man I didn't recognize. Jake, David said, walking up to the porch. Sorry to interrupt. This is Detective Ray Santos from the State Police Financial Crimes Unit. We need to speak with Mrs. Landry. Erica went pale. What's this about? Detective Santos stepped forward, badge visible. Mrs. Landry, we have some questions about deposits made to your bank account and your business relationship with Marcus Doyle. We'd like you to come with us for questioning. This is harassment, Morrison snapped. My client doesn't have to answer any questions without... Actually, she does, Santos said calmly. We have a warrant. He handed Morrison a document, and I watched her face change as she read it. What's going on? I asked David. Remember that $50,000? Turns out it came from the medical center project. Erica and Marcus were inflating invoices and splitting the difference. The medical center's insurance company noticed the discrepancies during a routine audit. Erica was shaking now. I don't know what you're talking about. Mrs. Landry, Santos said patiently, we have bank records, invoices, email communications, and testimony from suppliers. We also have Marcus Doyle in custody as of this morning. He's been very cooperative. So that's where Marcus had disappeared to, not running away, but being arrested. He's lying, Erica said desperately. Whatever he told you, he's lying. We'll sort that out at the station, Santos said. Ma'am, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and embezzlement. The next few minutes were surreal. Santos read Erica her rights while Morrison frantically made phone calls. Neighbors started coming out of their houses, drawn by the police car and the commotion. "Dad?" Tyler said quietly. "Is Mom going to jail?" "I don't know, buddy. But whatever happens, it's not your fault, and you're going to be okay." As Santos led Erica to the police car, she turned back to me with a look of pure hatred. "You did this!" she screamed. "You set me up. You destroyed my life." "No, Erica," I said sadly. "You did that all by yourself." The police car pulled away, taking Erica with it. Morrison followed in her Mercedes, probably calculating how much this was going to cost her client. The neighbors slowly dispersed, chattering excitedly about what they'd just witnessed. David clapped me on the shoulder. "Well, that changes things significantly. With Erica facing felony charges, her custody claim just became a lot weaker. What happens now? Now we wait. If she's convicted, she could be looking at serious jail time. Even if she pleads out, her credibility is shot. The judge isn't going to give custody to a convicted felon." Tyler was clinging to my arm, overwhelmed by everything that had just happened. "Is it over, Dad?" "The important part is," I said. "Come on, let's go inside and order pizza. I think we've had enough drama for one day." But the drama wasn't quite over yet. 3 hours later, as Tyler and I were watching a movie and trying to pretend our lives were normal, there was another knock at the door. This time it was Ruth, and she looked like she'd aged 10 years in the past week. "Jake," she said quietly, "may I come in?" I was tempted to say no, but Tyler was watching, and I didn't want to be cruel in front of him. "5 minutes," I said. Ruth sat on the edge of the couch like she was afraid to get comfortable. "I owe you an apology," she said, the words coming out like they physically hurt. I knew Erica was troubled. I knew she was making bad choices, but I thought if I supported her, if I helped her fight, maybe she could turn things around. And now? Now I realize I was just enabling her, making it easier for her to hurt people, including Tyler. She looked at her grandson with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. Grandma made some mistakes." Tyler, being a better person than any of the adults in this mess, went over and hugged her. "It's okay, Grandma. People make mistakes sometimes." Ruth held him tight, crying openly now. "Jake, I know you have no reason to trust me, but I want you to know. I'll testify on your behalf if it comes to a custody hearing. Tyler belongs with you. You're the only real parent he's ever had." I felt something loosen in my chest that I hadn't even realized was tight. "Thank you, Ruth. That means a lot." She stayed for another hour, apologizing repeatedly and promising to do whatever she could to help Tyler through this mess. When she left, she looked smaller somehow, but also more human than I'd ever seen her. The next morning brought the final piece of the puzzle. Jennifer Walsh called to tell me that Marcus had indeed been arrested and was cooperating with authorities in exchange for a plea deal. The medical center fraud had been going on for 8 months, and the total amount stolen was over $200,000. "Erica's looking at 5 to 10 years if she's convicted," Walsh told me. "Morrison is already floating plea bargain possibilities." "What about Tyler? What about him? With his mother facing felony charges and his biological father in jail, you're his only stable parent. No judge in the country is going to take him away from you." That afternoon, I picked Tyler up from school and took him to his favorite restaurant, a little diner that served the best burgers in town. We sat in a corner booth, and I tried to figure out how to explain everything that had happened. "Tyler, you know your mom is in trouble with the police, right?" He nodded, picking at his French fries. "She might have to go away for a while. To prison, I mean. Because she stole money? Because she made a lot of bad choices, and now she has to face the consequences. Are you sad about it?" I thought about that question. Was I sad? About the marriage ending, yes. About Tyler having to go through all this, absolutely. But about Erica facing justice for her actions? I'm sad that it came to this, I said finally. I'm sad that she chose to hurt people instead of just being honest about what she wanted. But I'm not sad that the truth came out. Me neither, Tyler said quietly. Is it bad that I'm not sad about Mom going away? No, buddy. You're allowed to feel however you feel. Your mom hurt you, and it's normal to be angry about that. Will I have to visit her in prison? Only if you want to, and only when you're ready. No one's going to force you to do anything you don't want to do. Tyler nodded and went back to his burger. After a few minutes, he looked up at me with a small smile. Dad, can we go home and work on my science project now? I want to build that volcano we talked about. Absolutely, I said, meaning it. We've got all the time in the world. 2 weeks later, Erica pleaded guilty to fraud and embezzlement charges in exchange for a 3-year sentence. Marcus got 2 years for his cooperation. Patricia Morrison withdrew from the divorce case, citing irreconcilable differences with her client's legal strategy. The divorce was finalized without contest. I kept the house, the business, and full custody of Tyler. Erica got nothing except a criminal record and the knowledge that her actions had consequences. Ruth kept her word, testifying on my behalf and helping Tyler maintain some connection to his mother's family without the toxic influence. She even started volunteering at Tyler's school, trying to rebuild her reputation through actual good works instead of gossip and manipulation. On a cold February morning, exactly 2 months after Christmas, I was having coffee and reading the paper when Tyler came downstairs for breakfast. Dad, he said, pouring himself orange juice, I have something to tell you. What's that, buddy? I know you're not my biological father, but you're my real dad, the only one that matters. I set down my coffee cup and looked at this amazing kid who'd somehow turned out decent despite everything he'd been through. Tyler, you are the best thing that ever happened to me. Biology doesn't make a family. Love does. And I love you more than anything in this world. I love you too, Dad. And that was it. No more drama, no more lies, no more betrayal. Just a father and son building a life together based on honesty and love. 6 months later, I was installing ceiling fans in the new community center when Pete came over with news. Guess who got out of prison early for good behavior? Marcus? Erica. Served 18 months, got released yesterday. I felt a familiar tightness in my chest, but it passed quickly. Is she coming back to Cedar Bay? Doubt it. Word is she's moving to Florida, starting over somewhere nobody knows her story. Good for her, I said, and meant it. Everyone deserves a second chance. Even after what she did to you and Tyler. I thought about that as I tightened the screws on the ceiling fan. Especially after what she did. Carrying around anger and resentment doesn't hurt her, it hurts me. And Tyler. We've got a good life now, and I'm not going to let her mess that up from a distance. That evening, Tyler and I were grilling burgers in the backyard when he asked, Dad, do you think Mom will try to contact me? Maybe. Would you want her to? He considered that seriously. Maybe someday, when I'm older and can handle it better. But not now. That's your choice, buddy, and whatever you decide, I'll support you. Thanks, Dad. As we ate dinner on the back deck, watching the sun set over Cedar Bay, I reflected on how much our lives had changed. The house was quieter now, but it was also more peaceful. Tyler was doing well in school, had good friends, and was growing into a thoughtful, honest young man. The business was thriving, partly because people respected how I'd handled the whole situation. Word had gotten around that Jake Landry was someone who could be trusted, someone who did the right thing even when it was hard. And me? I was content. Not happy in the giddy, romantic sense, but genuinely content with my life and my choices. I'd learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something better from the wreckage. Dad, Tyler said, interrupting my thoughts. Next Christmas, can we just order Chinese food and watch movies? Skip the big family dinner thing? I laughed, remembering my promise to myself that night when everything fell apart. Absolutely, buddy. Chinese food and movies it is. Good, he said with satisfaction. I like our family better when it's just us. Me too, Tyler, me too. And as the stars came out over our little town, I realized that sometimes losing everything you thought you wanted is the best way to find everything you actually need.